Bright lights with them billboards, the billboard. Bright lights with them billboards, the billboards. Bright lights with them billboards, the billboard. Bright lights with them billboards, the billboards. Bright lights with them billboards, the billboard. Bright lights with them billboards, the billboards. Bright lights with them billboards, the billboards. Welcome to the first episode of PJ Squared, also known as The Prince and the King. This is a modern day take on a father and son perspective on the world and how we see it. Quick little introductions. This is the first show. My name is Phillip Bingham. A little background on myself. Recent graduate from Virginia Tech. Fraternity boy. Kappa Alpha Psi, shout out to that. And also an entrepreneur as well. Recently started a social media marketing agency and a few other endeavors. Also, shameless plug, I'm a music artist as well. You can get my SoundCloud at Jenius and a few other things, but we'll talk about that at a later date. I'm going to pass it over to my father, let him introduce himself.
Well, looks like my son there is no stranger to the microphone. I am Patrick Bingham, Patrick Jerome Bingham, thus you get the PJ Squared out of this. A little bit about myself, a little older than my son. I am a graduate, I guess you could call it a eternal student, Clemson University, but also have a doctorate from the University of Texas, so have allegiances to several different schools. We're hoping to be able to kind of hit some new areas here as we go through different perspectives. We came up with lots of different ideas as far as the title of our little podcast here, but we're going to have a lot of different topics. We'll be talking about anything from sports to medicine to entrepreneurship. As you know, my son is an aspiring entrepreneur, has several different projects ongoing right now. I am former military, but an educator by profession now. But as we said, also kind of be free-flowing. Go Army, beat Navy. That's right. We're going to have sort of free-flowing here since it's a very different take. As I said, there probably won't be anything that we don't leave untouched. Initially, I told him, hey, we might stay away from, as they call it, those controversial things of religion and politics. But we'll be hitting those too. But we'll talk anything from relationships to family things to trips to vacations to
everything in between.
Everything in between. So we just had, I call it a great holiday season thus far. And I know for me, it's always good to have some fun time with the family. What about you, Phil?
Oh, I love the holiday season. It's a chance to just get back, reconnect, unwind, eat a little bit more junk food than I normally would, and just, enjoy a little bit of me time and a little bit of family time. And, we say happy holidays because depending on what you celebrate, whether it be Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, don't want to leave a stone unturned. And at the end of the day, we just want everybody to be happy and enjoying times with their loved ones and whatnot.
Yeah, and we call it that. This is our first podcast. We kind of got the idea because it's a very novel approach when you start looking at it as a father and a son, unlike some of the sports shows where this is strictly father and son, not just relegated to sports, but also as two African-American males. He and I have different perspectives on things, some similarities, some different. Love my son dearly, but we do have some differing views and opinions on things. So there's a generational thing, as you could call it. He's kind of the millennial, and I guess they call it that tail-end baby boomer. But as he said, this is the holiday season, and we thought it'd be a great time to kick off that first podcast. It was a great holiday time frame thus far, and we hope that those out there were able to relax, unwind. As he said, be you a person that celebrates Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or other time frame during this year. The reason why I've always liked this time of year, that seems that people slow their pace down some. They're a little bit kinder. Not sure how long that's going to... For the most part, yeah. Unless you're out shopping and looking for a parking space. But it's a time of self-reflection. And I guess growing up in a Christian Baptist-type household, you try your best to keep it focused, on Christ and the reason for that season. But I tell you, that gift-giving does have a major role in there. And I will say I was very pleased with the gifts I got. My family took care of me, and for me, that joy came from looking at them get their presents.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm not going to be one of those people that gets on that soapbox and says, "Oh, it's
consumerism.
all about the season."
It's all about consumerism.
But, I kind of do like getting those gifts. We did have a nice time. We went. This is probably the first time I've ever gone to a candlelight service at like 11 o'clock. We had the good fortune of going to Alfred Street Baptist Church in Alexandria, Virginia. So a great plug for them. My wife and I, Gwen and I, go on a regular basis right now and really enjoy the service, really enjoy the time of season, but really enjoy the message this Sunday when they talk about those less fortunate and also sort of how these systems we live in kind of have us there, Phillip.
I know a side way talking about this service. It was actually my first time going to Alfred Street Baptist Church. And one of the points he was making was you have to make time for the Lord. I know this isn't going to be one of those shows where we're harping on religion or anything like that. That's just my perspective on it all. But one of the things he was saying is you can't be too busy for the Lord. He comes to you with the blessing, so every once in a while you got to come to him and be thankful and appreciative of everything that you have in your life. On a side note, while I was sitting in the church, I felt bad afterwards because I was sitting next to a guy who didn't have the most pleasant of aromas, and I was like, oh man, I wish this man showered and all this other stuff. And the pastor started talking about the subject of the mangers of your life, of how Christ he was born in a manger, and for those who are unfamiliar with it, if you're in the city, like he was talking about. And like the country folk, a manger is basically like a barn. So it smells, it's not appealing if you're not used to it. And he was saying that whether you be an ex-convict or a prostitute, a pimp out there, a drug addict, you have to realize that people, they don't choose to be in these situations sometimes. So you have to be very cognizant of your thoughts and never judge one another, because any given second, that could be you in their situation. Lord willing against that. So I felt bad because I was judging the guy next to me and his smell, and I was like, man, you never know what situation he was in. He really could have just came off the street and wanted to get a message. So at that moment, I was like, man, I got to treat this man like he was like my brother in arms type thing. So shameless plug right there to Alfred Baptist Street. The preachers, or the pastors actually, a fraternity brother of my father and I, so definitely another positive and reason I'll definitely be going back to in the future. And then actually now, since we're on the holidays right now, let's talk about traditions. Some family traditions that you all celebrate on your own time. I know here in our household, one of the funner traditions during the holiday season is the Christmas pickle.
The famous Christmas pickle, and I know you talk about that, and I had never heard of the tradition of the Christmas pickle, Phillip, until I was a building principal, and one of my teachers gave that to us for a gift. I want to say my first year there in 2000, and I wasn't familiar with basically hiding this pickle within the tree, and somebody getting the finder getting like a little gift, a little award, and we made it, I guess, sort of a fun thing where it was probably just as exciting looking for the Christmas pickle and getting a small gift or token as much so as the opening up of presents on Christmas Day for us. And it was, I guess, it goes back to, I think, that competitive spirit that you and your sister have, and I'm not sure. Your mom is a competitor. I know I'm a competitor, and also probably a poor sport because I don't like losing. And so I think there's all that competitive air that you and your sister both have. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe just watching your parents basically get into it about their two sports teams. I being a Redskin fan, she being a Dallas fan, and me being on the short stick way too often. So you Redskin folks out there, you Redskin players, you gotta, as they say, help a brother out. Because but that Christmas pickle is one of those traditions.
And you're also a Clemson alumni. She's also an Alabama.
Yeah, now that's a story that kind of goes beyond the pickles. Do we want to stay on the pickles still, or that's another topic there? We'll go into that one as I start throwing some other teams under the bus as well.
But yeah, talking about this pickle though, this competition has quickly become a rivalry between my sister and I. If we could equate this to a rivalry, it's pretty one-sided at that. I think I've won about once or twice out of the damn 10 times we've done this. So I'm trying to think of a sports comparison. It's about like the Little Giants versus the Cowboys. And that movie, if anyone have known it, I think it's a 90s movie.
Yeah, a 90s movie. Called Little. I think it was called Little Giants.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, look it up. It's pretty entertaining. It's pretty entertaining. But yeah, the Christmas pickle. It's not even so much the gift anymore. It's about the fact that I'm just trying to win at this point.
Well, I think, I think, and I'm gonna have to toss you here. Didn't you at one point say that it was because this stigmatism or astigmatism, not sure of the correct term, with your vision, that was what was leading to your losses?
I think it has a lot to do with this. I'm not trying to pull that card out, but I do have an astigmatism in my left eye, and so these contrasts of colors. The Christmas pickle itself is green in the tree. So, I mean, I'll let y'all be the judge of that. There's a lot of camouflaging. I'm not going to say it's a deflate gate or anything of that nature, but, you know, it's political, I think. There might be some pre-Christmas talks as far as the location of this pickle.
Hey, folks, we're gonna let him get away with that one. He is basically he's still trying to break that one of those curses out there. I guess the Cubs broke their long losing streak.
The Cubs did it. I'm sure to break this one.
I think didn't we one time have like a secondary thing to the pickle just to kind of help you out one time?
It might have like a Christmas hunt.
Yes, I think we've
I do well in scavenger hunts. That's the thing about it. That's why it's so strange.
Well, anyway, yeah, but the Christmas pickle. But what about if people want to basically send like a note in and tell us what some of their traditions are, don't you have an email address, Phillip? That they can either send it through email or they can post it underneath this. We're gonna be uploading this most likely today or in the subsequent days. You can post that in the comments and we'll be reading those, getting y'all's feedback and really interacting with y'all because we're very curious on seeing what people do out there. Some of the things that we might think are strange and different, somebody out there might be like, hey, we do the same thing, and vice versa. Yeah, okay. Anyway, and we'll have to do some research, but I think that
I'll post that in the underneath the video in like the caption section.
Yeah. Now, because the Christmas pickle, I can't remember where it traces true origins to. I think it's a European tradition, and so I'd have to look up on that just to be sure. But it is something that we sort of adopt, and it's become quite a fun thing. And so one of the things I think you can reach Phillip through Facebook and his Twitter account. I just have Twitter right now. He might post on his. I momentarily had to give up Facebook for a while. I may eventually come back, but there were some things on Facebook where they say it's a social media, and there's some things about that social part that I wasn't quite fond of, as people sort of basically crossed over lines. But I may eventually get back to it. And so what Phil's going to do is you're going to have this, I guess, the podcast posted on YouTube, but also have a link from your Facebook page as well.
Yeah. You can find me on my Twitter at Phil2Cool. The 2 is actually just the number. It's my line number. And it's kind of ironic, the name. I don't actually think I'm that cool. So
Is it cool? Is it cool with the K?
but it's
cool
but
with
it's
the C?
but it's cool with the K though. So it's Phil Too Cool.
Okay.
I know some
Okay.
people say some people say I might be cocky and whatnot, but that's definitely not the case. That's depending on who you talk to about that. Instagram is King_PhillipJ. All these links will be posted under the video, and also there's gonna be a song at the beginning of this. That's actually one of my unreleased tracks. Stay tuned for that as well.
Okay, let's go back to some of those when we talk traditions, because I don't know if it's a Christmas tradition or not, but it's something that's become a Christmas expectation, and that's on Christmas Day, the meal that you and Tav eat. I'm not sure if it's a ritual type meal, but somehow there's this thing where it's sweet rolls, cinnamon rolls, and until this Christmas, I thought that you were, quote unquote, fond of the Grands, the Pillsbury Grands. This is a commercial plug here, the Pillsbury Grands. But it wasn't so much that you were not fond of the Grands, but you shared with me that sometimes the chefs would basically get them a little too, how can we say this? Crispy on the bottom.
I'll say it. I'll put it out there. Crispy.
And
There's burnt. That's
no
what they're doing.
matter, and no matter the amount of icing that was put on top, could kind of take care of them. But I think it was always the mimosas that you and your sister, your mom like, and I'm okay with that. The cinnamon rolls, but then also grits.
Yep.
And eggs with cheese became sort of like the expectation. It didn't matter what the other meal was the rest of the day. We've had anything from roast beef to turkey to steaks to seafood, but the one constant has to be the eggs, grits, and sweet rolls. And I know I once was asking your mom, I thought we were out shopping, I said, do you want me to get the cinnamon rolls? And she looked at me like, how dare you even ask about needing cinnamon rolls? And it was that look that only she can give. So yeah, but so I guess that's kind of a Christmas tradition, and I think we don't have a lot, when you think how some families have all these different traditions. I'm not sure if you consider this a tradition or not, but our expectation is kind of always to be in our own home.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll go places for Thanksgiving, but right now it's so like we just prefer to be in the house, and we'll travel after Christmas, but I can't recall us traveling before Christmas.
No. I don't think we typically travel on Christmas. We become isolationists.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you consider this a tradition or not, but since we've been on the East Coast for probably the last few years, give or take the stint to New Mexico and Detroit, shout out to Detroit, Cass Tech, we've had kind of a get-together with Gwen's older sister and brother, where we try to get together at a local restaurant or someplace and eat, and then do a gift exchange. And so maybe not a tradition per se, maybe a seasonal type, but I want to tie it to Christmas. We're going to change the rules, and so that's a Christmas tradition. That's a Christmas tradition on the gift giving.
Oh yeah, so Christmas traditions. I don't know why the Christmas time period makes me really think of plays and operas, I would say. I haven't been to one in a few years. I don't say a few years. So it's been like 2 years. Not too. It hasn't been that. We've been a family opera, Les Mis.
Yeah, Les Miserables. We saw that in the D.C. area probably 5 years ago. And was it 2 years ago? We saw Wicked in Detroit.
Wicked was great.
Wicked
was great.
Yeah, but we love, from a family standpoint, we have tended to go to the arts. We've seen the various versions of the Nutcracker during the time frame. I've always enjoyed that, but we do like the arts. I can't play an instrument. I can't carry a note. So I don't sing, I don't dance, like they say, the old Phil Collins stuff. But we do like to go see shows when we can during that time frame. I've always wanted to go see Trans-Siberian Express because of the music they play. But the music time of the season, I think, really, and so there are certain activities we do because of the time that we have.
Yeah, well, I think, and also since we're talking about plays, I think the hot one right here is still Hamilton, and can you find a ticket for it? Because apparently, the waiting list is just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, well that's one of them that we plan on going to see. As Phil and his mom and myself and his sister Tava, we're looking forward to that. As they say, during this time of year, for me, I just like the downtime of being an educator and having that time kind of re-energize myself to kind of become self-reflective. And there are times I get a little melancholy because I do think of those that are sometimes less fortunate. And it makes me a little sad because sometimes you wish you could do more to help out. We all have, I guess, those selfish tendencies of looking out for ourselves, but it's always important that there's somebody out there less fortunate. And one of the things we want to be able to do with our show is talk about all these different topics, but not only just talk about things, but also doing things to be a catalyst for some of these changes. Because I think Phillip sort of touched upon it. And I want to basically kind of talk about that right now, Phillip, is to one of the things that the minister talked about, but you know that I've talked about it just nonstop most of my adult life, and that's the fact that oftentimes people can forget where they came from. And I come from humble means. My parents are both hardworking folks, and I love them dearly. Mom 80, Dad 83. Yes, but I tell folks all the time I'm just a child of Robert and Geraldine Bingham. I'm nothing special. But when we think of everyone can be, they call it one disaster, one paycheck from being on the streets, being homeless, having to wonder where that next meal is coming from, and the minister is almost as if he had picked the words from me. And I know that other people have said this too, but it's just so important to realize just how easy it is for things to happen and for folks to get that label. And they say you never know where a person's coming from or what put them in certain situations. But I think one of the things that we as people can do, and this is probably a trait that could be very American as far as our culture, is being very judgmental as far as wondering why people don't have things. I know for me, I don't take anything for granted. I think it's easy sometimes. You might get the little arrogant mode. You think you've done things on your own, but someone has always done it sometimes before you. And someone can do some of the things you think you can do better than you. But I think the important thing of all of that, we have to continue to look out for one another. For my son and I, as we start this venture with our podcast, we're going to have a lot of different topics. Wouldn't you say, Phillip?
Oh, definitely. There's going to be no topic that's out of reach, whether it be politics, especially with the new Trump administration that's been happening and the controversy that's been mixed up with that, the recent incident at Oklahoma, the mixing incident.
Yeah, and you and I think we have some different takes on that than anybody else out there as far as it goes much deeper. Than that. And so that's something that we may talk about as well, because most folks are doing like the hit and miss. They talk about it, then it's back off the news. But there's so many things out there from the standpoint, and we talk religion, we talk politics, we talk sports, we'll talk relationships. I'm a man who's been married happily now for 33 years. I know Phillip has, he's still new in the world, still to a certain standpoint.
I'm just a young man trying to establish himself out here.
Trying to understand, yeah, dog trying to get a bone, huh? Yeah, okay. But Phillip, do you have any final comments you want to make?
Final comments. Also, if y'all didn't know, we're actually broadcasting this right now from the nation's capital in D.C. We are going to be going out of town for New Year's. We're actually going to Las Vegas, a.k.a. Sin City, starting tomorrow. So we're most likely going to be filming or recording out there. So definitely stay tuned for that. Like we said before, drop us a comment, send us an email. You can actually talk to us, and we can have conversations with you. If you want to like give us some ideas on some topics that you want us to discuss, we can definitely do that as well. You know, just being open, honest, trying to have fun out here. Live your dreams, because there's no better day than today to live them. And with that being said,
I'm the King.
I'm the Prince.
PJ squared.